Welcome to Walking with Spirit on the International Angels Network. Today is Thursday, May 17, 2018. Tonight is week 2 of our 4-week mini-series on death, dying, and beyond. I'm your host, Ruth Anderson, and I'm coming to you live from Colorado. Here at International Angels Network, we explore spirituality, angels, spirit guides, our loved ones on the other side, and much more. Our radio podcasts are available to you on Pocket Casts, Pinterest, Player FM, Castbox, Podtail, Podchaser, Stitcher, and now Podbean. These sites are all easy to use and make it simple to listen to our archive shows. This episode of International Angels Network is sponsored by Holistic Light Rejuvenation Center. For more information, visit holisticrejuvenate.com. Sunday Sturgeon is the founder and CEO of Holistic Light Rejuvenation Center, and we're pleased to announce that International Angels Network is now also sponsored by Audible from Amazon. You can get a free audiobook today. To redeem your copy, visit www.audibletrial.com/International Angels Network, and you can select a free audiobook from their large selection. I'm a spiritual counselor providing individualized transformational experiences for my clients in conjunction with the spiritual divinity, which includes Divine Mother, Archangels Michael, Gabriel, and Raphael. I'm also an author and a teacher who loves nothing more than working with and educating others. So each of my radio shows will carry an element of sharing what I've learned from my journey of working with the spiritual divinity. In addition, Archangel Michael has asked that I make a point of mentioning that the archangels are willing and interested in connecting with each of us. All we have to do is be open, respectful, and responsive, and simply just ask them to connect with us. I would like to take time to thank you for taking time out of your busy schedules to listen in. This show is called Walking with Spirit. Walking with Spirit means consciously living in the physical realm with frequent connection to the divinity in the spirit realm and being open to all that they want me to experience. Every day I check in with my guides, Divine Mother and God, sometimes seeking guidance, sometimes seeking connection, and sometimes seeking their healing abilities. Many days I receive lessons by hearing, seeing, or feeling signs coming in from the energetic realm. I never know what my day is going to look like or what the next learning might be. Each week I share a story about an experience I had while walking with Spirit. Here is my story from this week. I woke up the other morning feeling very vulnerable. It got me thinking, what is vulnerability? I decided that it is the gut-wrenching awareness that one is completely alone. If someone is truly alone in the world, this means any power that you can muster has to come from within yourself. These feelings of vulnerability can cause fear, and when given into, can be incapacitating. Giving into vulnerability and allowing it to dictate what one does is giving in to low-level energies. Low-level energy wants you to give up and stay small. How do we not stay in low-level energy? Call on the divine. Ask them to be with you and to guide you and support you. Bring in divine healing light down through your crown. Sorry, there was a noise outside. Bring it down through your crown and fill your aura. And please remember that you are not alone. If you are seeking more personal power, Your sense of self can be fortified and emboldened by having the spiritual divinity standing right next to you. Simply open your heart and mind and ask warrior angels to come in and surround you. You are only as vulnerable as you allow yourself to feel. As I brought the divinity into my space and asked for their support, I no longer felt alone and was more able to take on what the day had waiting for me. Last week, we talked about a near-death experience that I witnessed during meditation. This week, I want to share with you a near-death experience that my father had. As my father's life was drawing to a close, he found it most comfortable to sit in his reclining chair in the living room. Day and night, I always knew where I could find him. 2 days before my father passed, being in the upper right corner of the living room. The being was not Archangel Azrael, the Archangel of Death, nor did I recognize the being as a family member, although my grandmother assured me that she would be with my father when he passed. The next morning, I noticed that another being had joined the original one in the same corner of the room, although the second one felt of a less important stature. As I walked in and out of the apartment, the beings were steadfastly in attendance. Although Dad was 87 years old, he was still actively working on his atmospheric research. I have never seen someone as passionate about anything as he was his research. He couldn't help himself. Every conversation that he participated in, he somehow worked in his latest research. Once he started talking about it, there was no rerouting him. For a few days, I had been watching my father's chest rise and fall as he rested. His breathing had become sporadic, and time between breaths was so long in between. I fully expected that he would simply drift off and transition during his sleep. I thought that Dad would keep doing his research and his writing until the day that he died. I was close. He stopped talking about his work the day before he died. That evening, my father had a near-death experience. At around 5:00 p.m. that night, my sister was sitting with Dad. He looked like he was sleeping, one of those deep sleeps where we would watch his chest for the next breath. Then my father spoke. I was dead. I was just dead. I went down the black corridor, and I loved it. I looked around, and I wanted to stay. Then they told me that it wasn't time and that I had to go back. I didn't want to come back. I want to be back there. I don't know why they told me to come back. A few minutes later, he added, let's do whatever it takes to get it done. And that was it. Every conversation after his near-death experience was about what he had seen and what he could do to get back to the ethereal realm. More than 30 years of intense commitment and passion for atmospheric research was finished. Now he was equally passionate about leaving his body and completing his journey to the spirit realm. We brought in a hospital bed, and the beings stayed above the foot of the bed. If my father had been capable of seeing beings, he would have had a front row seat. The next morning, there were 3 beings clustered in the same corner. That afternoon, my father said, now I know what life is about. I saw how it works. You come into this life, you have experiences and live your life. Then you die and leave your life. He motioned with his hands in a circular pattern. Then you circle back around and you come back into this life, live your life, leave this life. Then you circle back around and repeat. I had never heard my father talk about reincarnation before, and here he was absolutely sure of it because he had seen it himself. Once Dad had seen that there was life after life for his soul, and that life in the ethereal realm was not only pleasant, but beautiful and better than living here in the physical realm, he thought harder to die than I ever saw him fight to live. As the evening wore on, it was obvious our time with Dad was limited. During my father's last hour, it felt like all of his concentration was on the task at hand, helping his soul to escape his body. I truly believed that if my father could have birthed his own soul, he would have. Unless he spoke to us, we didn't dare whisper because we didn't want to disturb his progress. My sister served as his nurse, and I as his spiritual counselor. We each lovingly held one of his hands, an act neither of us had ever done before. Dad was lucid throughout the night and asked me questions about the act of dying and how his soul would transition. He was a scientist until his very last minute. Our father passed away a few minutes after midnight, February 10, with 5 or 6 beings above the foot of his bed. I felt his mother and father in the group waiting for him. The minute that my father transitioned, his body was simply that, a body. It held no sign of his soul's existence. I took a quick check of the beings, and the entire group had left. Apparently, there was no need for them to stay around. Approximately 30 minutes after Dad's soul passed, I was given a vision of my father wearing a white robe, working his way down a corridor in the afterlife. He was surrounded by similarly clad souls, all cheering him home. My father looked tired, yet triumphant. I thought, well done, Dad. Okay, folks, tonight is going to be a wild ride. If you are not familiar with near-death experiences or did not listen to my podcast last week, I encourage you to listen to the archived podcast from May 10 on the International Angels Network. Before we get started with our topic, I need to explain something that I had been shown in the Cathedral of Souls. I was taken to a section that was set aside for souls who had never been in a body. I call this place the land before lifetimes. Here's a story of that meditation. I went to sit at the foot of God to see what my next learnings might be. I was told to keep with Archangel Azrael and learning about death. Azrael joined us and took me quickly into the dark. We entered a well-lit, massive area with tons of souls. The souls were white, nondescript in shape, and moving about as if they were alive. I asked, "Is this the afterlife?" I received no. I asked, "Is this the Cathedral of Souls?" And I got yes. As I was receiving one answer, another question would pop into my mind, and I would ask it. It seemed as if the questions were being provided for me, as I don't think I ever would have come up with these questions. I asked, "Have some of these souls never been born?" Yes. Have all of these souls never been born? Yes. Is this level different than where the souls are that have lived before? Yes. I looked around at the souls. They looked like white blobs, small little blobs, like almost baby size. Then I saw one that didn't look like the others. I put my hands out to read the energy of this particular soul. I saw that it was a white blob, but it had a small piece of something metallic that looked something like an antenna. I understood that this visual was figurative. I wondered if this metallic piece signified that this soul was part otherworldly, almost as if it was carrying DNA, if you will, from an otherworldly source. I asked, "Is this soul part alien?" I received yes. I looked around more and saw another soul that appeared part alien, that also had a gray tint. Was this soul part alien and part angel? Yes. So when someone says a person is an angel on earth, did they look like this grayish blob before they came into a body? No. Did some of them? Yes. Are there some people on Earth that are part alien or otherworldly? Yes. Are there some people on Earth who are part angel? Yes. Was I part angel? Yes. Was I part alien? Yes. I asked to see my before life soul. It was grayish with a small metallic piece in it, part alien and part angel. Are there a lot of souls that are part alien? Yes, but the answer was a faint yes. I asked, are there a lot of souls that are part angel? I got yes. It was a stronger yes than the prior question, but still not a strong yes. Are there more souls that are part angel than part alien? Yes. Are there many souls that are part alien and part angel? I got yes. Are most of the souls all just human? Yes. I looked back at the room. Most of the souls were white and only human. Out of the entire room of hundreds of souls, there were just a few with alien, angel, or both. I asked, does everybody fit into one of these three groups? I heard no. Are there some souls that are only alien with no human component? I heard yes. So what I had just been shown was that there are many souls waiting to come into bodies that are only human, others that are human with alien, still others that are human with angel aspects to them, and some that are a combination of human with both alien and angel. But the majority of souls waiting to come in were strictly human. There were more souls that were a human and angel mix than human with alien, and even fewer that were human and angel combined with otherworldly. I was pretty astonished by what I had experienced. I had already come to grips with the fact that there are probably folks from other realms with us here on Earth. But this level of proof was amazing. I was pleased with the possibility that I had some angel influence in my makeup. That would make sense to me with the life that I've chosen for myself. The otherworldly aspect was something I needed to wrap my brain around. But when I thought about my father and his intense passion for his atmospheric research and his limited ability to connect with others on an emotional level, I allowed myself to consider the possibilities. Funny, I mentioned it to my mother, and she was very open to the possibility that my father might have had otherworldly influences in his makeup. She thought that he had always followed the beat of a different drummer. Last week on the radio, I shared how during the near-death experience I saw during meditation, I went through the dark corridor, had a life review through pictures, saw an amazingly bright, white, God-like presence, and received an incredible healing in divine white light. I was then in a corridor that was earmarked for the third level of the Cathedral of Souls. I was highly uncomfortable with this level and was brought before a panel of large white beings. I could not tell how many spirits there were on the panel, and only the one in the middle had somewhat of a distinct shape. I tried to count, and I thought I could make out 7 in total. The shapes of the spirits were smaller in stature the further they were from the middle spirit. The panel, or tribunal, I learned assesses your life on Earth with you as a participant to determine what level you belong in of the residential levels of the afterlife, or the Cathedral of Souls. I understood that the spirits were talking about me and with me, although I was not sure if any words, as I would know them, were being said. It was more of an energetic or telepathic form of communication. I got the sense that the one in the middle was the ultimate decision maker. I did not sense judgment from the conversation as much as just a reviewing of facts. I want to say it wasn't judgmental because I wasn't feeling shame, but clearly they were judging. I knew exactly what was happening, and I was pleading to reside in level 2 of the Cathedral of Souls instead of level 3. Some of the topics that I discussed with this panel were the impact I had on other people. What was my ability to love others? How selfish was I? Did I have a connection with spirit, and had I become all that my soul had intended? The middle one then communicated, not with judgment, but with facts. I heard the word second and understood that I was chosen to go to the second level. I suppose because of the life changes that I have made in the last 5 years of knowing divinity and speaking divinity's truth, the panel granted that I got to go to level 2 instead of level 3. My soul and body were immediately at rest once I heard level 2. Building on what I shared with you last week, in another meditation, I went back to sit with God to get more answers about the panel or tribunal. I found myself right back at the panel, but this time I was not a soul in front of it being judged, but just an observer. I was trying to figure out who the members of the panel were. In meditation, I was looking at and speaking with an archangel. I didn't want to assume I had all of the answers correct, even though I was pretty sure that I did. I asked yes-no questions to receive answers using muscle testing. I asked, is Jesus on the judgment panel, even though I didn't see him there? I received no. Is the one in the middle who looks like an archangel actually an archangel? Yes. Is it Archangel Azrael, even though it didn't look like him? No. I thought that the archangel might be one that others have written about or have several responsibilities, such as one of the more well-known archangels, like Michael or Raphael. Does this archangel have a name that I can find out? No. Is it always this one archangel that sits on this panel? Yes. I saw other spirits on the panel. Are these always the same spirits? No. Is there always the same number of beings on the panel? Yes. I guessed that I had remembered seeing 7 beings total on the panel, including the main archangel, but I wasn't able to see them distinctly. I asked, were there 7 total, including the main archangel? Yes. Are any of these judge spirits individualized to the soul being judged? In other words, were they with the person during life? No. Are all of these spirits archangels, even though I didn't think they were? No. I didn't think so, as they looked different in size and stature. Are these other smaller beings angels? Are the other spirit judges ascended masters? No. I realized that I had no other words to call these other judges, nor was I being given any. They looked like smaller, whitish beings, exactly the same as they looked during my near-death experience meditation. I heard, why do you want to know what they are? I answered, because people will want to know what they are and what they are called. I asked, are all 6 of them the same kind of being? No. Are 2 of them the same kind of being? Yes. I saw the 2 who were flanking the archangel. I asked, are the remaining 4 the same kind of beings? I heard no. Of the remaining 4, are 2 of them the same, and then the other 2 the same? I heard yes. So I surmised the following scenario for the makeup of the panel. So on the outside were the 2 that were the least of stature. Next to them, there was 1 on each side of the archangel that were a little higher in stature. And then right next to the archangel in the middle, there there was one being on each side of the archangel. So it went low status being to middle status being to higher status being to the archangel. And then on the next side down was a high status being, middle status being, and then lowest status being. So the further the beings were from the archangel in the center, the smaller in stature they were. I thought, I got it. Were these other beings ever in a body? Yes. I was thinking, who better to judge a human than a being who had already been in a body? Remembering my lessons from the other day when I saw the souls that had never been in a body at the Cathedral of Souls, I asked, are some of these beings on this panel part angel? I heard yes. Are some of these beings part alien? Are some of these beings just human? Yes. I understood that the tribunal panel of beings was in this order from left to right. A human soul being, a human soul with alien being, a human soul with angel being, the archangel, a human soul with angel, a human soul with alien being, and lastly, a human soul. I asked, is there a hierarchy of the souls on the panel? I got yes. I thought of the size in stature and the proximity to the archangel. Are the souls with alien properties higher than just human souls? Yes. Are souls with angel properties higher than human alien souls? Yes. Are souls with alien angel combined properties lower than souls with just angel properties? Yes. From that, I understood that the hierarchy of souls looked similar to the hierarchy of the panel. In order of importance, it goes like this. Number one, the archangel is the most important. Next comes humans with angel properties. Lower status, humans with alien and angel properties. Lower status, humans with alien DNA, if that's what we're calling it. And lastly, lowest in status, those beings or those souls that are only human souls. Do these beings serve on the panel? Because every type of soul needs to have representation. In other words, do people with alien, angel, or combined alien angel properties need to be judged by a being with the same type of soul? I heard yes. Do the beings on the panel have information on the person's life because they were there to see it in real time? No. Do these beings have information on the person's life because they are given it as they are sitting on the panel? I received yes. Are the beings given the judgment of good or bad when they are given the information about each situation and the person's reactions and actions on earth? Yes. Are you all always in consensus on each decision? No. Is it majority rules? No. Do these beings have their own sense of right and wrong? Yes. Do these beings use their own sense of right and wrong when determining the judgment on the person's actions? The archangel, the final decision maker? No. Does the person get to have conversation with you during this process? Yes. I remembered participating in the unspoken conversation between myself and the panel. I asked, do you take the person's statements into account while making the decision? Yes. When the person is giving their account, are they able to tell lies or use other human skills of persuasion? No. Is the person being discussed ever the tiebreaker or the final say? No. Do you call in an expert when you can't agree? Do you call someone else in when you can't come to a consensus? Yes. I was wondering who. I asked, when you can't agree, do you ever call in the person who was wronged in the physical realm to hear their opinion? No. Do you call in Jesus when you can't agree? No. Do you call in God when you can't agree? No. I was getting no help. No, I wasn't getting any new questions to ask, so I was just striving out on my own. Does who you call change depending on the person in front of you? No. Is the help you call in when you can't agree your supervisor? Yes. Does that guide have more status or power than an archangel? No. Is that supervisor an archangel? Yes. Does the panel have to finally reach consensus regarding the fate of this person's soul? Yes. Does every soul come in front of this panel? Yes. I remembered my near-death experience that I observed. I asked, when I came in, I felt like I was already relegated to the corridor for level 3 by Archangel Azrael. Was it accurate that I understood that? Yes. Did I come in the 3rd level as just a learning experience for me? Yes. I was wondering if I would actually have come into level 3 if I had passed away. Do all souls come in on the 3rd level? No. Do all souls come in on the level it is expected they have earned? Yes. Do souls sometimes get to move up a level as a result of the panel discussion? If a soul is content with the level they are relegated to, is there any need for discussion? No. Are some souls angry and frustrated when they leave your panel? Yes. So that is the completion of the answers I received through meditation. I know that was a lot of information, and I myself have revisited the questions and answers several times to better understand what I was shown. Now, I'm hoping that she's on the line. If Claudia, is Linda on the line? If she is, I'd like to welcome my friend and fellow light worker, Linda Dierks, to the show. Linda, I'm pleased that you can join us tonight. Good evening.
Hi, good evening. It's wonderful to speak with you again this week.
Thank you, Linda. Linda, were you listening to all of that?
Yes, I was, and it was fascinating. And the more pieces of this puzzle that you put together for people, the greater their understanding. And I think you help shore up everyone's faith, and you get rid of the fear and the mystique around death. The more it benefits everyone.
Mm-hmm. I think so too. What do you make of the idea that as humans, some folks have angel properties or otherworldly aspects, or kind of almost DNA, if you will, to them?
Well, I have some theories on DNA, but I believe absolutely that we have angel and both angel and alien properties. I had a personal experience that I thought I would share with you. Would you like me to go ahead with that, with a little story for you?
I would love it. Thank you.
Many years ago, when I first started this work back around 1990, I was told that I was a blue ray, which is similar to what they call indigo children. And I saw these blue flashes in my eyes all the time. And I happened to have a reading with someone, and I'm going to quote some part of this reading that may help clarify some of that. It said, in the world there are in the world there are spectrums of light forces, and so what you and I would call vibrational frequencies. In the world there are spectrums of light forces from other galaxies, other realities. Here in this particular time frame, there are many visitors, some in humanoid form and some that take on portions of humanoid form. So this ties back in with what you were saying of being part alien. And then further, in the greater constellation of Orion, there is a race of consciousness that operate on light spectrum. So here again, we're looking at frequencies. They move and communicate through the retinas of the eye. So that explains the blue flashes that I was seeing. So here's a higher race being from Orion operating on a higher frequency, and that they move through the retinas of the eye with direct connection to the pineal gland. And then as we know, the pineal gland is the gland of higher consciousness. And he goes on to say there are spiritual lights. They are spiritual beings, and they operate through the optic system, for their vibration is in the same ray or frequency. Again, I've been highlighting the points on rays and frequencies. They are indeed positive, not negative entities, and it is part of their experience to experience what physical reality would be, for they do not have the capability of changing forms, whereas it would require a complete adjustment of their spiritual matrix to do so. So again, going back to it's their desire to experience what physical reality would be. Therefore, they are experiencing things through us. So they experience life through others or through your eyes. Indeed, there is much envy from these entities to be in physical form, just as you might be envious to be them. Again, stating again another example of higher beings experiencing through us or expressing through us, and higher energies as being a portion of us. And then he closes by saying, and yet in reality, we become one and the same, which I thought was lovely. In reality, we become one and the same. So I think that ties in with what you're saying about what you call alien, what I call a higher race being. In my particular case, being from Orion and being at a different frequency and operating, through my retina and through the pineal gland. They're just, reinforcing that, it is their desire to experience the physical form. And so they do that through us. Does that tie in with, how does that resonate with you?
I've got some questions.
Okay, go ahead.
So you were talking about Orion. So are you talking about the constellation Orion?
Yes.
Okay, so let me just say that is the only, and I know none of this, okay, so all of you listeners, this is the first time I'm hearing all of this myself. Orion is the only constellation I have memorized, and wherever I am in the world, every night I will look up and try to find Orion. So explain that to me, Linda.
You and I have got to quit doing this. You know that.
I know that.
So please tell me more about Orion. I know nothing about Orion.
Orion? So Claudia is saying that I'm a starseed. Of course, I have no idea what that means, Claudia, so I've got some reading to do. So Orion is the constellation where it's the archer, and he's got the belt, right? And so.
Oh yes, Orion's belt. Okay.
Yes. So, and yes, Claudia, I do have alien aspects to me. She's sending me notes here on Facebook Messenger. But even as a child, that was the only constellation I gravitated to. And so this is fascinating to me that maybe there's actually a reason I gravitate to that constellation.
Have you ever experienced, seeing just vivid blue flashes, in your peripheral vision?
No, but, the pictures of some of the orbs that I've gotten on the water.
Ah, yes.
They're always blue orbs.
I think that I mentioned that, but there is a really, really distinct indigo blue to this flash, and not the paler, almost aquamarine blue of the orbs that you have. It's a different blue for sure.
Okay.
What about the aspect of this higher race being or this higher vibration operating, in the pineal gland? Do you know anything about the pineal gland and how that might be affected?
I really don't, but I was trying, while you were talking, I was trying to kind of hone in on what is it that I feel when I'm looking at Orion. And I can tell you I've been fortunate to do some traveling in my lifetime, and no matter where I am, I will always look up and find Orion. And what I remember from being a child, when I was, the church that we used to go to was literally just right up the street, and I would stay for the youth activities and all and come home at night. And if I could find Orion in the sky, I felt safe. And it felt like I was home.
Someday we should do some research on that connection between Orion and perhaps Minerva in there, since we're seeing a lot of connections there. But I'm getting off topic. I have had an experience. I've known for a long time that I work with a collective consciousness. And, thanks to your influence, early last winter, I was able to start identifying what the individual entities were in this collective consciousness, this posse. They show themselves to me sometimes as a choir, sometimes as a collective tribe sitting around a bonfire, once as an upside-down bundt cake, all of these kinds of things.
That's interesting.
Of the entities that I looked at, using some questioning, I came up with two that were higher race beings. One, would then be identified as Orion, as we said previously, and that explains those blue flashes I see in my eyes. It's a very, very high frequency, and I can kind of feel an upward pull associated with that. But there's another one that I have seen for years and years, not so much in the last couple of years, and it's more of a matrix energy pattern. It looks like a graph paper with a red dot at each of the intersections. So, we know that red is a lower vibrational frequency than blue.
Right.
I think that the Orion frequency is, again, I think that's more of the upward pull I feel into higher consciousness. I believe the second higher race being, I think this matrix is designed more just to distribute the frequency through me more equally. I feel it is more of a centering energy. But that goes back to these higher race beings, looking at them as frequencies, looking at them as energies, and the way you see them as, in the soul groups, as you saw them as white blobs. You're seeing them as, also as frequencies and energies also.
Right. So talk to me about the pineal gland. So where is it? And B, how does that impact you as far as sensing energy?
I'm afraid I can't plug into that right now. Sensing energy, for me, happens more out of my crown and my frontal lobe, which is an interesting concept to look at if we're going to be talking about higher race beings.
Right.
If we were to look at our brains, and our amygdala basically is that brain that we walked out of a swamp with. This is our intuitive brain, our brain that is more in tune with looking for danger to keep us safe, and actually remembering what was dangerous. This is our intuitive brain that just functions and keeps us alive. And so this would be more of, this is more of our Neanderthal brain. But if we move forward up into our neocortex, this is a much higher vibrational frequency. This is our thinking brain, and this is more of the brain that would be more in tune, more in the frequency of a higher race being. So the more that we can keep ourselves in our frontal cortex and keep operating from that brain and stay out of stress, stay out of fear, then that's just another scientific, basis behind, why the power of our thoughts is so important to keep us, resonating at that higher vibrational frequency. Does that make sense to you?
It does. Yep. Can I ask you, or can I share with you something that's sort of related, but not exactly related to that last statement?
Oh, please.
So thinking about my dad, and gosh, if he had some otherworldly influences to him, which I do believe he did. When about 30 years ago, he had a dream. He was working on his research, of course, and was looking at getting it patented. And he had a dream. And in this dream, a being said to him, "Don't patent this." Said, you're not ready to patent this, and the work that you're going to be doing won't harm anything by not getting the patent. So my dad, this being, it really felt like not just a dream, but like somebody was telling him something. So he did not patent the research, which really made his business partner angry, and his business partner left him as a result. And my dad never patented what they were working on, but he spent the next 30 years of his life trying to figure out what this voice had said to him in the dream and continuing to do this research. And he, about a month before he passed away, he completed his research. And yes, it really was a blessing. So at his deathbed, this being up in the right-hand corner that I was watching, trying to figure out who was it, I met with my old teacher and asked her about the being. And she said, "I believe that that's the being that he dreamt of 30 years earlier. The very being that had said, 'Don't patent the research.'"
And that's the being that's with him as he passed.
Yes. And that being stayed with him for 2 days before he passed. And I'm pretty sure it was another worldly being coming back and making sure that their soldier, their researcher, went their way afterwards.
And let me ask you this: I think it's a wonderful story that your father completed that research a month before he passed. Do you think completing that research contributed to his, passing over with a clearer conscience and more clearly? And do you think that perhaps his past, his either his personal goal for this lifetime or lesson for this lifetime that was assigned to him, because that had been satisfied, that it just was his time?
Yes, I do believe that it was important for him to finish his research. What was interesting about my father, all of his research was done, I would say, in a vacuum, and I would laugh to do it because there was pieces of his research that had to do in a vacuum, but he didn't tell anybody. And so here he was. He had completed 60, 70 years of research and hadn't told anybody. And right before he died, I thought, okay, I am not going to be the one to carry this research forward when he dies, so we darn well better get somebody in to listen to this because I am not capable of doing this. So we called someone in from the university, and I sat and listened to the whole spiel. And as they were talking, I could feel like this cosmic check mark being marked off in the sky, like, yep, done.
And so there was a clipboard there, and another check mark was made, and an energy was cleared at that point.
Yep.
What a great story.
Yep.
I just think that's lovely. I had an experience with my father this morning. My father and I were great outdoors people, and as I was hitting a trailhead to go hiking this morning, I heard the song Mockingbird Hill, which came out in the late 50s, and my father used to sing it all the time. And we don't, I think so many times, we don't realize how thin the veil is and how we weave in and out of it. And when these little flashes of things, come into our minds, to acknowledge that, there is that entity. Did you tell me at one time that you had felt your father close to you after he had passed?
Absolutely. And my mother hears him now.
Mm. Yeah. Well, they must have had a very tight bond for all of those years.
Right.
I talk about angels a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Yes. What do you have in mind?
Well, we were talking about some people being part alien, part angel. I had an experience last week. Sometimes I feel an energy gathering, just a little bit will change around me. Then all of a sudden it'll ping and it will gel. And I asked, "Are you a new guide?" And I received yes. And I went down through, and I said, "Are you an angel?" And got a yes. And I went down through a number of angels and said, "Are you Gabrielle?" And it said yes. And
I love it.
So no. So I went and did some research into Gabrielle, who is the patron of communication, which is so appropriate for people like you and I. That she helps writers, teachers, journalists, and artists to convey their message. Blessing to have this new angel, come into my life. So that if an angel comes in, I believe that these angels enter and leave as we need them and for a specific period of time. It could be years. It could be temporary. I don't believe that this angel is part of my soul essence. But it was wonderful to have this happen at this particular time, and dealing with new communication.
So I have had what I'm calling guest appearances by different archangels that I haven't worked with before. And I've realized that they will drop in. So Archangel Cassiel has shown up a couple times, Archangel Uriel, and I know Claudia and some of the other hosts work with those two angels more than I do. Metatron showed up for a couple of times. And you're right, it seems like they just drop in when there's something that they're there to help you with. And then they might go away or come back a little bit later with a new learning or something, but it really is kind of fascinating. So, Linda, speaking about humans that have angel properties, have you ever met somebody and thought, I think that's an angel in human skin? Have you ever had that experience?
I have the experience where I will more sense their energy field. Someone will be, just near me in a supermarket or something, and all of a sudden that energy field will ping for me, and it's being really in alignment with my own energy field, in which there are divine properties there, and there's that connection, and I feel it, and there's also a lot of energy that comes out of people's eyes, and sometimes that energy is amplified when you catch a person's glance. You just know that there's just some kind of a divine presence there, something that I recognize.
I think that's probably very similar to what I'm referring to. And we just have like 2 minutes, Linda, but let me just say, which doesn't mean hang up, because you might have one quick little story or something. But I remember being like in a grocery store and a clerk I've never seen before, and there was just something about them that I totally resonated with. And it was like, wow, I feel like I'm actually seeing an angel right in front of me. Mm-hmm. So it's probably very similar that I read or sensed a different energy level to them, of definitely lighter, higher vibrational energy to them.
And that's absolutely why I mentioned the supermarket. It happened to me with a young man who was stocking the meat department, and it was just an instant recognition of that divine presence that was in this young man as he was just going about his work. So, yes, I know that we're short on time. Do you have any quick questions for me before we part this week?
So if I were to say to you, Linda Dierks, do you think that you as a soul came into this world with only human soul tendencies, or human with alien, or human with angel, or human with angel-alien combo? What would you say?
I know definitely angel. I can do some looking around it tomorrow and see if there's some alien in there. Definitely angel, and perhaps alien also. I know that there's a real mix in that collective consciousness. I don't know if they're a visiting consciousness, and which ones are part of my soul essence. So that's an excellent question. Thank you.
Homework for tomorrow.
Yeah, homework for tomorrow. But definitely there's some angel in there.
I love it. I do love it.
I have always known that there is something different about me, as there is with you. So have a nice evening. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, my dear. We'll talk to you soon.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. There's a real quick Facebook Live question from Taylor, wondering if either of us can read what she is made of. And Taylor, I don't do many readings, so I apologize for that. So I'm happy to have conversation with you afterwards, but I don't do many readings. So that is all we've got time for tonight. So thank you to Linda Dierks for being with us. If you'd like to, please check out her blog, which is called Creating Joy and Wellness. It's on her website, and you can then sign up to receive her blog as she provides them. Her website is spinstrawtogoldnow.com. So that's all we've got time for tonight. Thank you again for listening in. It's always a pleasure to have you all with us. Week, May 24, we're going to be talking about the Cathedral of Souls, which is the residence of the afterlife. I'll have guest Ward Barkafer Jr. joining us. He's the author of Beyond the Veil to Heaven, which chronicles visitations from his deceased wife, Suzette. She talks freely about the Cathedral of Souls and what it is like to live there. If you'd like to purchase his book on Amazon.com and read it prior to our call with Ward, please do. It's truly an honor to be among the hosts of International Angels Network. Please join us on Tuesdays at 9 o'clock Eastern Time for Diane Morgan with Angel Navigation. Wednesdays, Angel Talk with Sue, with host Sue Broom. Saturdays, we've got 3 shows, one with Susie Parrott, another with Shishi O'Donnell, and lastly, Bernadette Garvin. I look forward to walking with Spirit and you next Thursday, May 24, 2018. God bless.